Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's Monday evening, and I just wanted to go over some interview tips that most people don't think of. It seems to be the big thing that's going on LinkedIn now with interview tips and what to look for and stuff like that. And a lot of times we hear the standard questions, and some people try to, prepare for their interview and stuff like that. They go through the motions of getting dressed up and doing all this other kind of stuff. But with tech resumes and tech interviews and stuff like that, it seems to be a little different. And one thing that came across over the weekend was somebody that made a quick video and about one question that seems to come up a lot. Now, over the weekend, I spent a lot of time, majority of my time on TryHackMe, going through their courses and stuff like that, getting a lot of hands-on, getting a little bit. I've had Linux experience in the past 2 years ago, trying to set up a basically a blank virtual server. I had scrap, so a bare metal, so I had to upload the database, upload that, going through Linux and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of experience, but over the weekend I went through a lot of stuff on the TryHackMe, and there's just a wealth of information on there. Before you know it, the weekend goes by so quick. But back to the interviews and back to the resumes. Um, a lot of times I had an interview today for another job, not with tech or anything like that, because you got to have at least one certification to get in and stuff like that. But majority of my interviews and stuff are based on my experience of what I've done, so I can easily go through them with no problem because I just base everything on what I've done and tell them, and you know, just like today, they want to know. I've never really had the question. I don't think I've ever had the question where they say, or yeah, I might have. Um, why should we hire you, or why do you want to work here? And I posted something like that about those questions with some may look at it as sarcastic responses or anything like that, but it's not really that kind of thing. But with tech, it seems to be a whole different thing. And one of them I'm going to start looking into it, maybe some tech questions and stuff like that. Maybe it'll help me study all my courses and stuff like that. But one of the ones came up, and these are some of the things that I went through over the weekend with the course of what actually happens when you click on these things, or what you do this, or how websites actually work. Not just the programming of them, but what actually goes on underneath the surface and stuff like that. And I had a small understanding of it going through the Network Plus. But one of them, one of the big questions, it's my understanding that is asked on these interviews when you go in, is when you do a search and you type in the letter G. I guess usually when you type in, because of DNS and stuff like that, most of it's pre-recorded stuff that you don't have to use the www or anything like that. As soon as you type in G for Google, Google automatically comes up. Of course, that's based on settings things. If you want auto um, thing for stuff like that. Well, one of the questions that seems to be a big question when you go for an interview, and maybe the first question they ask you is, when you type the letter G and hit enter, what happens? Basically doing a search, and there's a process that happens on this. It's not really too involved in what happens, but the thing with the searches and stuff like that is what goes on with the IP address and the DNS servers and all that kind of thing when you go through this stuff, and a lot of the stuff that's held up in cache and all that, where they have a process. Everything happens so fast, but there's all of these servers that everything goes to. Everything has its own server. Email servers and web servers and this kind of server, that kind of server, for various things, specific things and stuff like that. And the majority of the searches and stuff like that go, they got root servers and all this other kind of stuff that they go through until they get to a final server. If it has to go to, I think it's like 5 servers it goes to, or 4 stages or something like that. But that seems to be one of the big questions. And a lot of what I noticed over the weekend that's going on is these resumes. How important these resumes have to be to bypass the AI and to bypass these systems for getting the interview and getting in. And there's also things where now, today I think it was, I came across it on LinkedIn where somebody commented on one of the posts where and it comes up quite a bit too. It's kind of give and take on both sides with the interview and the resume and stuff like that. Where networking people, making connections and stuff like that, and showing what you can do online. Whether it be that's what I try to do with these videos and stuff like that. Um, to try to show what I'm doing, what I learn, and I show it on LinkedIn and stuff. And a lot of people share their certifications online and stuff like that. And that seems to be a big thing now. And the thing with LinkedIn is, you got all these recruiters that are on there, and they may not even care about your resume. I've come across a couple things about the resume that I've seen where people don't even really care about the resume. They want to know you. They want to know what can you do. What do you bring? They're not worried about, what was the standard. You got to go back 7 years, or it used to be 10 years going back, and a lot of people that seem to be getting outdated. And cover letter. Do I do a cover letter? Don't I do a cover letter? And stuff like that. Do I put this on there? Do I put that on there? Another one that came up was about space. Say you have a year where you didn't do anything. They want you to explain that, and then they say, don't worry about that kind of stuff. They shouldn't even be asking that kind of thing. Don't sweat that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting that this is a big thing over the weekend, and that one question that came up that somebody said it that they ask you this kind of stuff. I understand they'll ask you the big thing, with I speak from networking and stuff like that. I don't know about the Security Plus or the A Plus or anything like that, or any other thing, stuff like that. It was also suggested today that somebody suggested that I skip the Network Plus and just go right for the CCNA. And then somebody had talked, and it was mentioned to me before about skipping over that. And somebody replied to that saying that the CCNA is a difficult one. It's not really entry level, it's more of an intermediate. But I've heard that about the Network Plus too. I've heard the Network Plus exam is a beast, um, but people pass it. And I think it all comes down to with any interview or any kind of testing or anything like that. If you want it bad enough, you're going to go for it. A lot of things. So over the weekend, in between time of spending on the Try Hack Me site, which is something that they recommend going on there and doing that, I went through various highlights in the my Network Plus study guide, and I went through. There's um, things that are mentioned in there that you really should put to memory. It specifically says it in there. Put this to memory. Put that to memory. One of them is troubleshooting tips. Aside from, I mentioned this because it's all kind of relevant with resumes and stuff like that. Like I said, I never really thought about the resume and what kind of questions they would ask because I never really thought about interviews or anything like that. I never really thought about resumes, but this is a whole other world that I'm learning something new about now with resumes and interviews. And you get caught up in the studying, and you want to get that certification and stuff like that. You want to pass the test and everything, but the questions and stuff like that, are something we got to focus on too. The big things that come up all the time with the, the what you have to know for the exam. TCP/IP suite, the OSI, topologies and stuff like that, and switching and how to do subnetting and all that other kind of stuff. And there's all these processes and stuff like that. Command line interface commands and stuff like that, and what this does, what that does, and how does this work. But a lot of it too is, you can use that verbatim and stuff like that. And I think the bad response that'll be, okay, well that's what the book says, and you really don't want to get caught up in that kind of thing, trying to say, well I read it in the book or something like that, because anybody can, read the book and stuff like that. You got to mess around with this stuff. A lot of it comes up. I messed around with a lot of this stuff on Try Hack Me over the weekend. URL stuff. I learned stuff, about get and post and curl. Small c, capital URL and stuff like that. These commands in Linux and stuff like that, and how it basically falls under the capture the flag kind of stuff, and all this kind of interface stuff and command stuff and everything like that is big for scenarios and stuff like that. And you got to know the cabling and subnetting and stuff like that. But I did make a note on some of the things that I went through on this Network Plus thing that kind of stand out. off base from the resume and interview kind of stuff, and I mentioned the troubleshooting tips, but also routers. There's a process that routers go through. Three-way handshake, that's pretty simple, but you got to go above the three-way handshake where it's the initial connection. It's basically the greeting. When you sign on and you try to go on, make a connection, basically it's a connection. You get the SYN, then you get the SYN-ACK, then then you get the ACK. It goes back and forth and stuff like that. But you got to know exactly what's going on. Okay, well you can you know you know say that well, here's what happens with the three-way handshake. You get a SYN, and you get a SYN-ACK, then you get an ACK, and you've got your connection. Okay, pretty simple. That's basically all it is. You're making a connection, but there's a lot of things that go on with that, and these are things that probably come up in interviews and stuff like that, understandably. So I just want to share that, kind of think about the interview, kind of think about the resume and stuff like that. There's a wealth of information on LinkedIn to get on there and stuff like that. I'm building such a connection base on there of what I think are pretty powerful people in the world of networking and security and technology and stuff like that. And these guys share their information. They share their ideas. They share here's what to look out for and stuff like that. And they share all this stuff. And you get feedback from other people and stuff like that, which is a great way to learn all this kind of stuff, aside from just getting the certification. A couple other things in there are in the book. Yeah, I've got like 30 or something different things, but there's a couple that I highlight, well, that I start and everything like that. How to create subnets and stuff like that. IP routing process. The There's one for VTP and AP configurations, ACL configurations. Let's see what else. Cloud services. The IaaS, the PaaS, and the SaaS. Troubleshooting steps. I mentioned that. And here's the other thing too. They got tables in there for ARP options, path ping options, and NetStat options and stuff like that. And these are all troubleshooting commands and stuff like that. And there's certain ones that you go through on these things when you type in NetStat and IP config, and for Linux it's IF config, and all this kind of stuff that builds up, and you get caught up in that kind of thing, and your interview may just be one question. The other thing about the OSI, we get focused on what goes on for that, and how that works, and there's they call it mnemonics on how to remember it, how the layers go and stuff like that. But you may remember, the process, to how it goes up and everything like that, all the way up to the application layer, from the physical layer and stuff like that. You go up to physical layer, then data link layer, network, and so forth, up to the application layer. And you may know, okay, well, what's layer one? Well, that's the cables and stuff like that. That's the physical layer and stuff like that. And then it gets up to there. But they might want to know things like, okay, well, what's going on in that whole process? Okay, it leaves this layer, goes to the next layer. What has to happen in this layer for it to go into the next layer, or what can fail in this layer that'll get bumped back to the other layer and stuff like that. So I just want to emphasize on that kind of thing. These are all things that I picked up over the weekend that I never really thought about, because again, I'm one of those ones that I understand the layers and stuff. I understand what they do. Well, I understand what they are, and which layers which and stuff like that. But I never really got into the full depth of it. And these are kind of things that now I'm thinking of in the back of my mind that I'm going to be making notes of and stuff like that. And I'm going to look into the CCNA tonight that somebody recommended, because they said that basically the CCNA is almost the same as Network Plus. It's just vendor specific. And I had a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn today about that, and they agreed with me, and somebody else had posted in about it and stuff that I had mentioned, and just goes back and forth from there. But I never really thought about the CCNA because I was so focused on the network. the Network Plus, my understanding is it gives you an overall layout and thing. And the point that the guy made today about the CCNA is Cisco. It's a Cisco certification specific, and everybody uses Cisco routers and switches and stuff like that. And you may know the whole layout and stuff like that, but they may have certain things that they have with their switches and their networking and stuff like that that CompTIA may not cover and stuff like that. So it's something I'm going to look into and go from there. I'm going to look in Amazon tonight, see what kind of book they got, and go through the book. They allow you to go through the preview and stuff like that. But I kind of like to do videos now where I've got a storyline that I can go through and stuff like that. Things that I pick up on LinkedIn, even things I pick up on Twitter and stuff like that, different things. But I mainly pick it up because it's more one-on-one with people in the industry on LinkedIn and stuff like that you're building with these people and stuff like that. And they share things with you or they try to help you out and stuff like that. One guy shares a lot of free stuff. You can get this. You can do this course for free for 24 hours and stuff like that. You can do this course for this. He finds all this stuff and they share it and stuff. And we talked about the not me specifically, more so everybody in the connection area talked about different stuff, and everybody put feedback in for the resumes and the interviews and stuff like that. But they kind of share all this stuff, so I kind of want to pay it forward a little bit and hopefully help somebody out there that maybe didn't think about that kind of stuff or anything like that, and go from there and try to pick up on something like that. So I think that's where I'll try to lean towards doing that kind of thing where as I pick up things on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and anybody that shares things with me and ideas like with the interview stuff tonight that maybe a lot of people didn't think of, myself included, didn't think about that kind of stuff because I didn't really focus on the interview. I'm focused on let me get the certification first and go from there. So, but it's great getting all that feedback and getting all this input from these people that are actually in the industry, and they're pretty laid back too. They offer this kind of stuff where they say, hey, if you got any questions or anything like that, hit me up. And I'm kind of the same way. Anybody got questions or something like that, go ahead and ask and everything like that, and I can find out for you. I may not have the answer. I probably won't have the answer or anything like that. Or you can ask me, what do I think of getting this versus this and stuff like that through my experience of what I've been picking up online and what I've been learning through my own experience and stuff like that. That kind of stuff I can share with you and kind of point you in a pretty good path of what the feedback that I've got on these things in my experience and share these things with you and stuff like that. And say, okay, well, it comes down to what do you want to work in, what do you want to focus on and stuff like that. That's the biggest thing. The thing with cybersecurity and stuff, it's so huge. It's bigger than the internet. It's better than the World Wide Web. It's just huge of what you can do with, getting in. The tough part is it's so difficult to get in. And what I'm starting to learn now on LinkedIn is the biggest thing is networking. I don't mean networking in the sense that you're getting your certification, but networking, connecting with people, connecting with the right people. Sure, you can do like you did on Facebook, or people just do like they do on Twitter. You can just spend, I mentioned this in an earlier video with connections and stuff like that, where you can just start hitting connect. You can hit connect to 40 different people, and you might get 12 people, 13 people out of that, or you may just get 6 out of that. But what does that bring you? Somebody may look like, wow, this person's got 580 connections. They must be somebody. It's not that. That person just kept hitting connect, and people just connected. I noticed that on Facebook, and Twitter does the same thing. They have the thing where if they follow you, they want you to follow them back. It's kind of a little rule that they got or something like that. Whether you follow it or not, it's up to you. But, think about that interview stuff. Think about that resume stuff. And, subscribe to my channel and, share my channel and stuff like that. Try to help me build up a rapport. Try to help me build up an audience. Help me try to build up, subscribers and stuff like that. And, I've mentioned this quite a bit. Let's try to help each other out like we do on LinkedIn. Everybody in the cybersecurity world and technology and stuff like that. We all try to look out for each other. We all try to give input. We all ask questions. That's how we learn. So that's what I'm going to try and share here. Try to help somebody that may be in the same situation. So enjoy your night.